In the last video on this channel, we discussed that we would likely bounce right off of this level, the candle body close zone from August and 2021. And that is exactly what Bitcoin did. So that video aged like fine wine, and Bitcoin has rallied since then. We are now halfway through the month of October, and it's looking like it's going to be an UpTober. All of this and more in today's video. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today, the markets are up. Everything's pumping across the board. It's what I like to call throw a dart season. You can kind of just go blindfold, throw a dart, and something that you hit is probably going to be pumping, which means that interest is returning to crypto. And very quickly, just want to mention that Bitcoin is still in a parabolic trend. This is the trend that we've been discussing inside of 2023. We began calling this trend, and we are still playing it out. So the monthly parabola is looking really strong right now. Now, I want to jump into the weekly chart because something else we discussed was the weekly RSI breakout and how every time you get a major weekly RSI breakout, the trend usually becomes ultra bullish. And just like we discussed at the start of 2023 on this channel, the weekly RSI breakout led to a huge run. And now Bitcoin, once again, has shown us that exact signal, a weekly RSI breakout. And that will likely lead to a huge run. What it means is that we're entering an expansion phase. And the weekly RSI breakout expansion phases last anywhere from 6 months to a year, which means until at least March of next year, anywhere from 6 months to a year is what we get. So until at least March of 2025, at least, we're going to be going up. On the long term, in the macro, of course, there's going to be big swings in both directions along the way, but until March, at least, we're looking to continue up. Right? This was the monthly candle close zone right here, where we were saying we would likely bounce off that level. That was the intro of the last video, and that's exactly what we did. But if you pull up your RSI trend line and you map out the support, you can see that Bitcoin bounced directly off of the daily RSI uptrend line. So RSI structure could have given you that long signal. If you were looking at it, that was the low right there, right along RSI structure. And if we look at the resistance, we have sort of an upward sloping channel for the RSI. Bitcoin may actually be looking for a higher high here, continuation up to reach that RSI overbought level. And it could be a short-term resistance, right? We had higher highs here. So we may be looking to go up to at least 67,500 roughly to test up to in the short term. Ultimately, I think we're going to be breaking out in the long term and hitting new all-time highs. But you have confluence between the resistance from March and the upward sloping resistance along with the RSI resistance. So this is going to be a key level in between 67,500 and 68,000. That is going to be a zone to be watching, right? It is a possible area where we get a stoppage in play. But if Bitcoin just breaks right through it, well, that's a really bullish sign. And that means that we're looking for new all-time highs a lot sooner than people probably expected. Because from current prices, we are about 12% away, just 12% away from a new all-time high. To give you perspective, Bitcoin is up 5% today, and we're only 12% away from the all-time high. Things can change really fast. We could get there in a day, a week. All it takes is one good weekly candle, and we're above the all-time high. So regardless of this 67.5 to 68,000 key interest for resistance, regardless of that, I still think we're going to be trending up. I'm very bullish on this market. It is the election season, and last two bull markets, or pretty much every bull market in Bitcoin history, began right around the election, and we hit new all-time highs, and it's happening again. Now, I want to talk about some of the macro structure here, some more RSI structure. This is the monthly chart, and the monthly chart for Bitcoin, the monthly RSI structure has been one of the most reliable signals. Just like the weekly RSI breakout signals are one of the most reliable signals, the monthly RSI breakdowns are one of the most reliable signals for the end of the cycle. Now, I think we're very far away from getting it, but I just want to show you guys, if you look back in 2013, end of 2013, Bitcoin goes from under $1 to $1,200. And the monthly RSI support line, when we broke that right there, that signaled the end of the run, the end of the entire cycle. That monthly RSI support, very key support. breakdown, huge bear market, huge flush down for many months. If you look at 2017 or beginning of 2018, same thing, monthly RSI structure. When we break it, that's the end of the cycle. And over here in 2021, monthly RSI support line, monthly RSI structure, when we break it, that is the end of the cycle. And right now, Bitcoin is on the monthly RSI support, which means that if we do continue to bounce here, if we do continue this run, we have a huge pump ahead of us. Massive. This is going to change the game for the crypto cycle if we get a bounce off this support line. Because you can see there's usually many months in between these support line tests. You know, sometimes you don't even retest it until later on in the cycle. So if we get a bounce here, Bitcoin may come up to maybe, let's mark up that resistance right here, be about 84 on the monthly RSI over time, 84, and then looking to break down towards the end of 2025, September, October of 2025. So that means on the monthly time scale from now into middle of 2025, that's probably what we're looking for, is a run and then a breakdown September, October of 2025. So the monthly RSI structure is something to keep your eye on, because I think if we bounce here, if we break out here, we're going to be elevated off of this until closer to the end of the cycle, most likely. But I figured I'd mention it because we're on it now. So this is, in theory, the area to go long before the cycle really takes off. And then, of course, using it as an end of cycle signal later, 2025. And just like I mentioned on Twitter on October 3rd, we usually end the months up. May, end of May up. Start July down, end July up. Start August down, end August up. Start September down, end September up. Start October down, and now we're about to go up. We're going up. We're green on the monthly. So this idea is starting to play out as we speak. And also, I want to just reiterate this post here. Now, of course, this post was from October 8th. So this monthly is now green and we're up. But just want to remind you that the descending broadening wedge target is from the high to the low of the pattern, which lands us, if we break out soon, around 91,000 for the first major multi-month target, settling up at that range. And then looking for a bounce to 124,000. Why 124,000? Because according to the textbook parabolic diagram, after base 3, the stock price doubles, or in this case, Bitcoin's price doubles in a short period of time. And in this case, it's many months. After base 3, 91, settle up, and then from 62,000, we double to 124,000. So this is, according to the textbook, what we should be looking for. If you just, for a moment, forget that we're looking at the Bitcoin chart and just imagine it's a random chart and you're looking at the textbook and you're looking at the price action and you go, okay, well, 124,000 from the middle of this range, 62,000, that's what the textbook says. That's what I'm talking about, right? I'm trying to not use too much of a bias here. I'm just looking at it unbiased from the perspective of the textbook. We're looking for 124,000 as a possible cycle high. Now, this could always change based on how things play out, but for now, I'm going to be looking for something along these lines. To me, it makes sense. Most people now, when we break out, especially, they're going to be calling for a super cycle. They're going to be saying 200, 300 or more. And, actually every time people say that, it's not the case. So I'm going to be sticking to a realistic target this cycle, because having realistic targets and realistic expectations of time and having time targets is how you actually take profit. If you have unrealistic price targets and you don't have any time targets, you're never taking any profit and you're holding the bag through the bear market. You have to remember that everything is based on time in these cycles, guys. Time is actually a much bigger deal than you think. Time is actually more important than price. If you look at what happens throughout Bitcoin cycles, we have the election and then we run up 40 weeks after the halving or 80 weeks after the halving, somewhere around there is when we top out, 40 to 80 weeks. Election, run up. 80 weeks later, we hit the top. Election, run up. 80 weeks later, we hit the top. Right now, we're about to have the election. 80 weeks later, September, October of 2025, we hit the top. And no matter what the price is, that's the top, because time is more important. Everything moves in cycles, global liquidity, the economy, the election season, it all moves in cycles, and time, guys, is more important than price. And that's why I created the Bitcoin halving cycle profit indicator, which maps this out. The point is, once again, no matter what the price is when we're at the 80th week, that's your peak. right? Somewhere around there. It could be 40 weeks. It could be 80 weeks. It could be anywhere in here where we hit the top. But by that point, if your price target isn't reached, too bad. You got to sell. Time is ticking. So keep that in mind. And if you guys aren't in the Patreon Discord, you're missing out. You got to join Patreon to get into Discord. A lot of people have been getting value out of our morning voice chats. Every day, an hour or so after the stock market opens, I jump into voice chat and I talk to you guys, and you guys ask me questions directly, and we analyze the charts, the trends, altcoins, trades, all of that kind of stuff is in the Patreon Discord. You can only get into the Discord by becoming a Patreon member, following the steps, connect Patreon to Discord, and you're in. There is a 16% annual discount, and these prices will not be available once we break the all-time high, because once we break the all-time high, retail comes back, and we want to reduce the amount of people that are in the Discord. So take advantage of this now while it's still here, and I'll see you all in the next one.